Greetings and welcome to the Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team video, where today I'm going over how you can improve in Kill Team. But before we get into things, please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video. And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out for free in the episode description below, an affiliate link at Element Games, an affiliate link and discount code at Crossfire Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. But yeah, today I'm going over how to improve yourself in Kill Team. So how to get better, to understand the game more and just improve your skills overall. So I'm going to try and break it down in 5 steps, which I've used pretty much myself, not only with Kill Team, but when I started playing Warhammer Underworlds as well, to just, make yourself better overall. So let's get into it. Now, my first tip for you to get better at Kill Team is to pick a team you like. Now, this doesn't have to be like the worst team or the best team, just a team that you are going to enjoy playing on a regular basis. Because no matter if you play a team that's weak or strong, depending on how the meta is, if you're playing a team you don't enjoy, you're not really going to have that much fun. And the more you play, it's going to become more of a slog instead of something you enjoy. Now, it doesn't mean like you shouldn't run a powerful team. Sometimes a powerful team may end up being something you enjoy playing, either due to its complexity or power. But the only issue is when you try and stick with a team, if you pick one that's, top tier for now, it's not guaranteed it will stay top tier. There's always a huge chance it could get nerfed and become worse. And, assuming you're new to the game, you don't really want to continually be hopping around factions, because instead of being a master of one, you'd be a master of none, if that makes sense. So you really should pick a team that can be good, but it's also fun for you to play. A common example of this last edition was Commandos. Commandos were started very strong, then just became, good, and then ended up really, really strong before being nerfed. So you had a lot of people who had stuck with the faction, all of a sudden again amazingly better. But people enjoyed it because Commandos are tough, you can charge from conceal, they're very forgiving, you've got a lot of operatives, and they've got a good melee and ranged output. But also, a lot of people like playing as orcs, especially commandos, because you can be sneaky gits, which is great. But that's why I recommend you stick with a team you like, because you're generally going to play for this team for a long time. And when it's something you enjoy, it won't feel like a chore, and you'll actually have fun, especially when it comes to building and painting. You'll have more of a connection with the team, and it'll be easier to stick when things go bad as well as good. The next tip, which is kind of obvious, is practice. Now, when it comes to practice, I'm not saying you need to play 3 or 4 or even 5 games a week. Some players even play 7, which is crazy. But you really should be aiming to get 1 game a week or every 2 weeks. I sometimes play once every 3 weeks or every month. Generally every 2 weeks at least, unless I'm on holiday. But you don't really need to spam out those many games. And actually, if you're over practicing, that's actually a detriment to yourself, because you're just going to lead to burnout and you're not really going to have fun when you're, playing the game. But you do need to practice, because you can't just miraculously pick up a team and then expect everything to go your way. You do need to understand the team, learn each operative, learn your strengths and weaknesses and how to adapt, especially now in the current Kill Team sphere where we have 9 missions. It does take a while for you to play all of those missions to where you're comfortable at and that you know how to play well, as well as, the more you practice, the more you get to play different teams, and you get to see how you can work against teams you're favorable in, teams you're not doing so well against, and finding out which teams are good or bad for you to play into with your chosen team. Now, a great resource when it comes to practicing is friendly local gaming stores. But if some people also use Tabletop Simulator. Ideally a mixture of both would be great, but generally playing physically is the best. But especially if you're in a more isolated community, or it's very difficult or distant to get games, Tabletop Simulator is a good avenue to play if you're tolerable with playing online using the online simulator. And then you can use Discord, such as the Command Point Discord, where you can find players to network and get through there. But practicing is really important because, as I said, it lets you learn the mission, learn the teams and the teams you need to play against. It also lets you become more familiar with your operatives, so you spend less time researching their rules, you become more familiar with their ploys, and also it helps with TAC op selection. Because, you know, I see a lot of players who just play only one tac op, even though you have two different archetypes to select from and you have 6 tac ops to pick. You know, there is always one optimal one. But when you're practicing, you can go like, oh, I'll try this one. It's not the most optimal way, but I haven't done this before. There's nothing wrong with experimenting and also losing when you practice. Because I think the goal is you're not trying to win or lose when you practice. You're just trying to learn and improve yourself, which can happen whether you win or lose. But that's why I kind of want to stress you don't need to play so many games, because when I'm looking at people online talking or people asking for help, they're concerned they're only getting like 1 game a week or every 2 weeks. And I think that's fine. You don't need to like cram in games, especially if you've got a tournament coming up. Practicing is going to be a long process and it's never going to be quick. Even when I switch teams, it takes me at least a month or 2 to fully get the handle of that team, and it takes several games. I need at least like 10 full games to get a full handle on a team. So, you know, in rare circumstances, you can probably pick up a team in 1 or 2 games, but most people don't do that way, even when they're like very seasoned competitive players like myself. My next tip for how to improve in Kill Team is to learn from your losses, or don't blame the dice. So losses are actually the most important part of, you know, learning when it comes to Kill Team or Warhammer in general. And I actually learn the most when I lose, because at least when you're playing skirmish games like Kill Team, when you lose, because the game is a lot smaller compared to larger scale games like Warhammer 40,000, it's very easy or easier to tell what you have done in order to make yourself lose. Because, you know, when you win, the only thing you can really improve upon is like, oh, maybe I'm played a bit risky here, or, you know, I did well there, but you still won. At least when it comes to losses, you know what mistakes you've made, whether it's selecting the wrong tac op, approaching the mission wrong, playing too aggressively, playing too defensively. And it is difficult. Like, learning how to lose is a skill. It took me a long time, and even now, sometimes losses still hit me really hard. But you kind of just have to accept it and move on. If you can't process your losses, you're never going to get better. So, like, for example, when I was playing Legionary into Warp Coven at the New York Open, I realized I partly lost the game because I didn't leave enough threats going into turning point 2. I only left 1 operative who could effectively charge or move and dash and shoot an operative. But if I had at least set 2 different operatives who could threaten up, my opponent then would have been incentivized to take initiative turning point 2 instead of giving it to me and then basically being able to, you know, safely stage away. So that was something I could take away. But it's really good that you just try and break down your losses. And it really helps if you talk to your opponent as well. Go like, okay, that was a really fun game, but is there anything you miss? Is there anything I missed which you think I did wrong? Like, for example, did I overextend here? Did I activate this operative instead of going for this? And it can even be common stuff like going for activated models, well, expended operatives instead of going for ready operatives. So, for example, let's say your opponent moves up their melter and blasts away one of your operatives, and then instead of going for one of their readied operatives, you went for the melter, which had already finished and was no longer a threat, which then allowed your opponent to then punish you again and killed one of your other readied operatives. So it's stuff like that. Losses are really, really important. And to be honest, the most fun I have when Kill Team when it's either really close or it turns out to be a narrow loss. Even with big losses, you can kind of go like, oh yeah, I thinking about that, I approached it the wrong way. And sometimes you're not going to immediately learn from your losses. It's going to take sometimes an hour, even a few days. Sometimes once I've lost a game, a few days later, I'll just be thinking like, you know, mental practicing, and then I'll go like, oh yeah, I actually completely approached this the wrong way. And I only really saw that when I was thinking back to myself or when I was chatting to a friend, which is why it's really good to either get your opponent to break it down to, you know, say what happened during the game, or even just bouncing stuff off of friends, because they can kind of go like, oh, what did you do here? Did you play this ploy right? Or even like messing up your sequencing. Even when I make mistakes in games, I remember from my mistakes more than when I, you know, do stuff well and make wins. So it's like I was playing a practice game and then realized, oh, I'd messed up the sequencing of what I'd done. So instead of like charging, fighting, and then trying to shoot someone, what I should have done is shot that target, then probably would have reliably killed them and then had another free APL to do like a mission action or something, instead of trying to gamble on the double kill, where I could have actually more reliably caused the kill in melee and then tried to have shot the opponent first, you know, or something like that. So it's just really important to learn from your losses. And there's nothing wrong with losing. You know, you're not going to win all your games, and you will lose from time to time. And it's really important you learn from them and don't let them eat you up. Now, a big thing when it comes to losing is blaming your dice. And when it comes to blaming your dice, it's very easy to do because you always remember the bad aspects of when you lose a game when it comes to dice. Because it's very easy to go like, damn, I made this key attack roll and my dice just failed. It was game over. But when you look back at it, it's more like, oh, I kind of gambled too much on this sequence. If I just held off for later in the game or for another turning point, actually I could have been in a place where it wasn't so crucial and maybe I was just being too aggressive. Now, obviously, you are going to have games when you just roll nothing. And I'm not saying never go like, oh, it was just the dice. Like, don't complain about the dice then. Of course, there are times when dice are going to fail you. But the thing is, Kill Team is mainly a positioning game. And you really need to think about how you stage your engagements. And more importantly, when you engage or when you move up at the risk of giving your opponent targets. Because a lot of people play too aggressively turning point 2, saying like, oh, I lost on the mid because I had to push up. But then you have to remind people you only start scoring from turning point 2, and this is a 4-turn game. So you can actually bring back the points you lose turning point 2 on 3 and 4. So even though you think you need to get this early lead because of how points work in the current game, especially based on the mission, you can actually afford waiting to turning point 3 or on some missions, even turning point 4 before you go fully in. So it's just about remembering that. And obviously, you know, dice are going to be very tilting. But I've seen people complain about dice when they've had amazing rolls and just had one bad sequence. So it's a good etiquette thing to learn for yourself, and it just makes you a better player overall. The next way to improve yourself in Kill Team is to time yourself. A lot of common things I get from people is to go like, how do I play faster? Me and my friends take like 3 to 4 hours to play a game. We really want to speed up our times, especially as we want to go to tournaments. Now, this is actually quite easy, and it comes basically with what we said before: practicing, getting more familiar with your team, and, you know, just learning from your losses. But a good tip I would like to say is just set yourself achievable goals when it comes to time. You know, your games are going to get faster the more you learn the missions and the more you get familiar with your team, which is why I recommend sticking with one team you enjoy playing, because it's going to be easier for you to remember all their rules. And you also have to remember there are 9 missions, so there's still a lot of interplay you need to learn. But my biggest tip is try and set a time goal for your games, but then every week or every game go like, okay, we played this game in 4 hours. I want to do it in 3.5, and then 3 hours and 15 minutes, then 3 hours, and then like edging your way down until you get to like the 2-hour mark. Because most tournaments are 2-hour rounds. Some are 1 hour and 45, but generally everywhere is playing 2 hours. So as long as you can get yourself to a 2-hour time limit, that's really good. Even if you can like don't want to set yourself like long time limits, you can also just go to your opponent, okay, you know, use a clock as a timer, like on your phone, and just say, we have 2 hours to finish this game. Let's play this game. And at the end of 2 hours, we'll call the game where it is. So then you can actually realize how long you take. You can use the forbidden, dreaded word of chess clocks if you want, but I don't think it's necessary when you're just generally practicing. Obviously, you can if you want to, and chess clocks are a useful tool, but just playing with a clock on your phone is great. That's what I do all the time. Especially in tournaments, I'll put the round timer so I can always see it, so I know how much time is left. Because what you can do is then you can time how long you are taking. Because sometimes I'll look at the clock before I start my activation and then look at the clock after. If I've spent like 3 or 5 minutes, I know I've spent way too long and I need to pick up the pace. But, you know, you get these things of analysis paralysis, but the more you play and practice, the faster you will get. It's not going to happen overnight. It will still take a while. And for me, it took a long time to play larger teams faster. So it's not, as I said, not everybody can play super quick. That's why maybe if you're playing like an elite kill teams with only 6 to 8 operatives, you're actually going to fly through more quickly. But maybe you enjoy playing larger teams, and even people who play smaller kill teams can still take a while. So don't always fall behind the trap that makes you think that larger kill teams will automatically make you take longer to play. But this is something you should really discuss with the people you play as well. Just to let you know, like the great thing about timing your games and finishing your games within a set time limit, especially when you're playing at your friendly local gaming store. Let's say you have 4 to 5 hours in an evening. Instead of playing one game, you can now play 2. And if you play really fast, you could even play 3. So it not only makes you better for playing in more competitive formats, but also maximizes the time you have to play when you're just playing your game once every week or so, allows you to go home earlier, so and stuff like that, so you have more stuff to do. So it's just a net benefit. So remember, just try and set yourself achievable time goals, play with like something tracking the time, and you don't have to play to 2 hours. You can go, okay, we took 4 hours, let's start at 3 hours, and then winding down 10 minutes or 15 minutes every game until you hit that 2 hour mark. And finally, my last tip to get better is to use resources to get better. So this is stuff like your local community. Some players and areas have WhatsApp chats or like Discord groups. So you can just go in there, Facebook pages, and just talk to people. You can chat about Kill Team, chat about tactics, chat about rulings, and just chat about Kill Team in general. Go like, how have you been enjoying this team? I've been thinking about playing this. It's a really good thing to be able to bounce ideas and just talk about Kill Team to people you basically, play along with as well as like, because it will help you remember stuff. Even discussing rules can be very important because it helps you memorize stuff or corrects your own knowledge when you didn't realize it was wrong, or people can bring stuff to attention that you weren't aware of. For example, when it comes to specific rulings, interactions, or updated FAQs and erratas. This is coupled with like using online resources like, content creators like ourselves to, watch our videos, or like blog posts or whatever, or podcasts. Those are great avenues as well to just help you understand more when they're talking about tactics, different kill teams. But I would highly recommend finding a local group to chat in. I'm in too many groups. For example, I'm in the London WhatsApp chat, and then, I run my own Discord. I'm in like several other Discords, like the Command Point Discords. And then I have like specific friends I chat to, for specific stuff about Kill Team. And, that will naturally evolve into more friendships as well, which is a great benefit. Because if you have more people playing Kill Team, not only can you make more friends, but then you can expand to playing outside of Kill Team. So you get a double dip of enjoyment for getting into the game. But it's just really useful because it also helps with organizing games, finding regular practice partners, discussing stuff before you get to the table, going like, for example, as I said, with the timing, or going like, I'd really like to play this mission and then we could do this mission after if we finish fast enough, or stuff like that. Or I play this kill team, I know you play these two kill teams, can I play that kill team? Stuff like that. It's really, really useful. And it may seem kind of like basic, I'm not trying to be insulting, but it's really, really good. Especially, being in multiple communities is actually pretty good. Don't be like me. You don't have to be in like 10. That's just insane. I'm just mad. Don't do that. But being in multiple online communities as well as local communities really helps to improve your knowledge and expose you to stuff you weren't normally aware of, which also helps if you're trying to play via Tabletop Simulator, because then you can network with all these people and even play people from around the world. So it's a very, very useful thing to do. So overall, to summarize my tips for getting better, first, you need to pick a team you enjoy playing. It doesn't have to be good. It doesn't have to be bad. It just has to be something you enjoy playing, because you're going to play them for a long time. And it also helps you memorize if you're playing something familiar that you like. It's going to be easy just to remember everything and learn and build and paint the kill team. Then it's to practice regularly. This is kind of straightforward, but aim to play like a game every week or every 2 weeks. You don't need to play like multiple games every week. It does help if you do that, but then that can lead to burnout. So just try and do it manageably. That's sustainable for you. Even one game a month, if that's good enough for you, that's fine. Just try and play regularly, and you can increase it as you need. Then you need to learn from your losses. Try and not blame the dice, because you can learn so much from your losses, especially in games like Kill Team, where it's generally fairly straightforward to break down what you did wrong to learn and get better, because you can learn so much from your losses, because you can really isolate what you did wrong and when you and where you did it in the game, so you can learn and not do it in future games. Then there's timing yourself, as in like just using the timer on your phone. Try and play within a set time limit. If you're taking too long, let's say you're taking 3 to 4 hours to play a game, try and gradually aim to play faster every game until you hit that 2-hour golden mark consistently. Or even like play games where you say, once we hit 2 hours, we're going to stop, just because we're trying to get ourselves used to that, because then it helps minimizing analysis paralysis, especially if you've been continually sticking to the same team and practicing more. because there's no quick way to just suddenly play faster. It's going to take time, and as long as you do it in small manageable amounts, eventually you'll be able to play games on time without any issue at all. And then finally, there's like networking with your local community as well as other Discord or online avenues for Warhammer communities, especially related to Kill Team. You know, your local group is going to be great because then it's going to be able to help you organize games, chat tactics, all that kind of stuff. And if you're in more like global online spaces, such as Discord, such as myself, or Command Points, then you'll be able to see people from different regions and who are able to give you different insights, especially if you're playing stuff like Tabletop Simulator, because then it means you can reach new global opponents that you wouldn't normally actually be able to do in your own environment. Now, obviously, this is all going to take a lot of time. It's never going to like magically make you better. You know, even though I kind of jumped into Kill Team very well, it took me like 1 to 2 months to fully learn the game before I got pretty good at it. And even then, I'd been playing like competitive Warhammer for years before that with Warhammer Underworld. So it's not like I just magically jumped in to be amazing or that kind of thing. It will take time, and you know, you're going to lose, but it's really important to learn from your losses. That's why I really want to stress losses can be very positive, and myself, I learn the most from when I lose. It helps me improve, and when I make a mistake, I learn from it and then never make that mistake again. Like my most famous mistake was when it comes to times. I actually never properly used something to track the rounds, like if it was turn 1, 2, 3. I actually used a magnetic dial, but then I forgot to turn it, and then my opponent said it was the end of the game when we had a turn left, but it was basically my word versus theirs, and I didn't argue. And then it ended up in a draw. They thought they would have won, but it was a draw, but it was a game I would have won. And the way I get around that is by door numbers. So when I throw down the door numbers, everyone knows what turn it is, including myself. Because I had an opponent go like, oh, this is the end of the game. I was like, well, I'm afraid there's a giant 3 on the table, and I pick them up every turn. So I believe the giant numbers work. And that's how you can learn from your losses. It's even simple stuff like that, which is really, really good. But hopefully, you know, this all helps. It's what I use. So hopefully me explaining my tips to you will make yourself get better as well, so we can all be really good when we play Kill Team. But the important thing is to remember, have fun and always learn from your losses. But that's pretty much it from me today. Please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video. Did you find it useful or helpful? And remember, I've got Discord you can check out for free in the episode description below, and a affiliate link at Warhammer Games, and a affiliate link and Discord code at Crossfire Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. And I'm quickly going to shout out my patrons. So for my adepts of the crit, I have Tom, Supercow, Sam, Nick, Mercenary Q, Mr. Meatword, Lucas, Jeremiah, Graham, Fangzu, Draken, Dave Meatsworld, Dan, Dada Goldens, Chris, and Morpheum. And then for my veterans of the crit, I have Samja and Mark. So thank you so much for all your support. It really means a lot to me and helps support the channel. But yeah, I should have a second video this week. We'll see. I've been quite late because of work. But yeah, this is a video I've wanted to do for a while. Part of my guide for new players as well as existing players to hopefully make you get better at Kill Team. Once again, using what I've learned and what I used to get better. So hopefully it works for you. Because if we're all good, then it just builds up everyone's skill level overall, which is really good to see. Also helps if you get a very angry cat. It's my angry cat. He's very angry and fluffy and old. But you don't have to have a cat. Only the best players have cats or some kind of pet. But remember, no matter how your games of Kill Team goes when it comes to practicing, you can always win as long as you practice and as long as you can roll a crit.